Okay, Brandon, it's
Hello.
good to see you.
Hello, Father Howard.
So, my question for you is about your college experience, right? So, you're in school right now.
I'm going to UNLV. I graduate in a month and a half, and I'm majoring in psychology. So,
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
That's
Thank you.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice to be done.
Yeah, I know it is.
Yeah.
It feels great.
So, has this been 4 years for you?
3.5.
Wow.
Semester early.
Wow. That's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
You've been working really hard.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
I'd say so.
Yeah. So my question is about your faith in Christ and your experience being a Christian on a college campus in a college classroom. So I don't know if there's an experience you've had that stands out,
Yeah.
or if this has just been positive, or you haven't had anything come up that's conflicting with your faith.
There are a few experiences for sure. So I got baptized 2 weeks before the start of my freshman year in college.
Wow.
So I was a very new believer
Yeah.
when going into college, right? And originally I majored in philosophy.
Okay.
And my first memory of college was walking into this philosophy class, and my professor was going over arguments for God. He was going over the ontological argument and the philosophy behind that. And right away I could tell that the idea of God in these classes was kind of taken like as a joke, kind of taken as it was like not a serious thing you would think of, if you were like any sort of intellectual. And well, right then and there, I knew that major wasn't for me. So I went to psychology, an even more liberal major, right?
But you didn't know that. You didn't know that psychology would be more liberal.
Well, I had an idea, but my interests drove me either way.
Okay.
And it's just what I wanted to pursue.
Right.
And so even within psychology, of course, the way that these liberal college institutions go is the same way that politics and culture has been going. If you've been paying attention to politics and culture, you would see certain patterns of where ideologies are going, and the institutions follow that.
Yeah.
And so within my psychology classes, I've taken a variety of classes talking about gender theory or things of that sort of nature,
right.
That aren't in alignment with Christian values or what I believe to be true.
Right.
And so that is just the prevailing experience that you're going to get if you are taking a liberal arts major at these liberal colleges. It's just you are going to get these ideologies that you might not agree with, don't agree with, and just kind of permeate the entire university.
Right. And it really, what strikes me often, because this was my experience as well. To me, it's clear that they've got an agenda, right? So many times I'd be in classes and there would be no reason for theology or God to even come up, right? But then the idea of God would be interjected in order to be laughed at or dismissed.
Right.
So was that your
that's the general take.
A target.
In most classes, like any idea of God would not really be taken that seriously. Even I'm taking a history of psychology course right now, and it's talking about the Renaissance period and how that was the prevailing time where the idea of God would be rejected for these sort of more what they would call more intellectual worldviews, right? As if the idea of God is incompatible with any sort of intellectual thought process.
Right.
So yeah, that is definitely how I would describe the college experience.
Right. So there's an agenda there that's more than teaching philosophy or even teaching the history.
Yeah, definitely.
They're promoting an agenda.
Definitely.
So I guess part of my wanting to talk to you about this is I'm a parent, right? And I've got kids in college, getting ready to go to college. I've talked to lots of parents about their kind of hesitance to send their kids to college because so many people have had experiences, right? I've talked to people in my grandparents' generation, right, who sent their kids to college, in the 60s, and they saw their children come back different, right, with this kind of far left materialist ideology that had been pushed to them.
Right.
How have you maintained your faith, and how were you able to navigate these classes? I assume your approach has changed over time.
Yeah, for sure.
So maybe you could tell me that, how has it changed?
There are a couple things. For one, throughout these 4 years, I've been so blessed to have like a great community of strong believers around me. Both my girlfriend and my best friend are two of the strongest people in their faith I know. A lot of my friends, this church community that I've been blessed to be in, these are all people that I can look towards to have community and have great conversation about God. And it's a community outside of the world and outside of the college life that I can go back to and that I can call my home.
Right.
So I've been blessed to have that. And I think another thing within my college experience is that within my first semester, I knew that I would have to take my education in my own hands. You know what I mean? Like, there was no way I could just kind of go with the wind and I guess put myself into this college ideological perspective. Like, I had to go read stuff on my own and go decide what and go find truth in a manner outside of the college experience. And I think if you are going to keep your faith strong, both in a practical matter of keeping prayer life and reading the Bible, and also in an intellectual matter of not being swayed by these other ideas, you have to be intentional about it, and you have to go into it knowing that that college is not going to support your theological views, and you have to find a way to do that separately outside of college.
So that's a great formula. So be grounded in your faith in a worshiping community, people that are going to take some of these issues seriously, right? That are going to be able to talk about philosophy, theology, psychology. Have a good practice of your own prayer life and reading of Scripture. I love what you say about every college student should do that, right? Every student should
regardless
do that,
of where you go,
right? Should take their education into their own hands, take responsibility. So, I mean, kudos to you for that. I mean, because so few people, right? I remember being at UNLV, and a fellow student asked a professor a question, and the professor said, well, here's some places to go and look for those kinds of answers if you're interested in knowing that, right? Kind of pointed her towards, where to go and do that. And she went back to the class the next week and said, so did you look it up? Expecting the professor to go and do the research and then come, right? Just kind of spoon feed, right? And it just, it's a different view, right, of education. So yeah, I really appreciate that. What you're, and maybe you've already said it, but what you're kind of implying here is that you have an appetite for the truth, and that many professors do not. They have an appetite for ideology. Right. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, I think for some of them, they come to these conclusions, and for some of them, it probably is true. I mean, maybe they've done their research, or and that's what's led them to that point. But there are many professors who that is not the case, and that's not where they've landed. And the ideology of the world and culture has kind of swept them up into this place where they kind of want to, they want to stick with culture. They want to be, maybe they want to be cool with their students, or maybe they have, I don't know, a variety of reasons for why they might land on that truth. But yeah, I think that many of them are swept by ideologies, unfortunately. So.
And that can be a really troubling place to be, right? As a student, because many of the professors want you to. I mean, they take the ideology as some of the content for the class, right? They want you to be able to regurgitate feminist theory, or they want you to be able to regurgitate a materialist, Freudian Marxist, whatever it might be, right? And so, how do you navigate that spiritually? How do you engage with some of that, be able to understand what it is that they're saying ideologically, be able to present it back to them in a paper, but not own it for yourself? Right?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Yeah. I think part of it is trying to stay objective with what you're talking about, because you know, in a lot of these papers that I have to write about, whether it be gender or whether it be you know, any other topic of that sort that I disagree with, you know, I don't make the claim that I believe in this. I'm just reporting on information that is, you know, that I have read. You know, I have read this book. This book says this. I'm reporting this to you. None of that is my worldview. And if you were to ask me for my worldview, I will gladly tell you what it is, right?
Yes.
And I think it's a lot easier to be in a class where you can have conversations with people face to face rather than some, you know, submit paper, professor reads it, because it's just like, you know, it feels impersonal. Everything on the internet in general just feels kind of impersonal, right? So you'd rather just be able to, and I have had classes where I get to have dialogues about whether it be religious or moral views, and it's a lot easier to have conversations with classmates that disagree with you face to face, right? Because you can have this, you can have face-to-face dialogue, and you can disagree respectfully with each other, and you can get to the truth closer to each other, rather than having it be so impersonal, you know, in the form of a paper or however, like discussion post, you know, however else.
I love that. I love that you're able to read what somebody has written, to understand it as best you can. I love that word, to report. This is what they're saying. This is what they believe and why. It's my favorite word when I write, you know, observations or other kind of clinical, right? The person reported X, the person reported Y. It's not what I'm saying about it, it's what they said about it. Yeah. And you know, I do like that. I like that willingness to, I'm ready to talk about what I believe. And then I love what you say there about respect, right? That when we're in person, we can show respect, which I think is a kind of love, right?
It is, yeah.
We can talk about the truth, we can seek for the truth, and we can do it in love. I can show this person that I love them, that I care about them, that I want to be respectful while disagreeing, which is almost impossible to do maybe through email.
It's very hard, yeah. I mean, you just can't get any of the tonality or any of the things that you need for good, productive dialogue. It's much harder over, you know, any comment section or any back and forth email dialogue, you know, written dialogue. It's a lot easier to do in person and just, you know, have the conversation.
Well done.
Thank you.
I'm impressed. And what I guess just to end, what kind of advice would you give a parent that might be thinking about not just, you know, sending a child to college, but encouraging them, right? Because you know, many, I think, you know, might be thinking, you know, send them to a trade, which of course is very good. I think that's a fantastic thing, right? We need more people in trades. You know, as a parent, gee, should I encourage the trade? Should I encourage college? So what are your kind of thoughts on that? And if you are going to encourage a child to go to college, like what? You said what you did, but what do you think parents should do?
Okay, maybe this is like kind of negative. I would hesitate to send a you know, a student to a liberal college, but I understand the necessity of it. For me, in order to do what I want to do for a career, I have to go and get a degree, and that's, you know, I have to as part of the job that I want to do, that I think that God is leading me to. You know, a degree is necessary, so I understand that in some forms it is necessary. So if I was sending you know, my child to a university, I would prep them with the knowledge or I would prep them with what is going to happen within these universities. You know, you are going to have these ideologies that disagree with you, and that disagree with you in quite extreme ways. Your worldview might get shunned, your worldview might get laughed at, but that is the way of the world. Like that is the way of what happens to a Christian in the world. Is sometimes when you go and interact with people, you're going to get laughed at and you're going to get shunned. But we are called to maintain our truth and maintain our love for people regardless of that fact. And that is the same attitude you should take while you're in college. Is your worldview is going to be just, you know, shunned, like I said, but you can maintain your truth. You can maintain the truth regardless of that fact, by just preparing yourself for what's going to happen, and then maintaining the idea that you are going to stick to what is true no matter what. You know, regardless of if a teacher tells you you're going to get an F on this paper if you talk about God, or if you say that you're a Christian, whatever. You know, you must stick to the truth, and you must pursue that at all costs. And so that was what I would, you know, tell a child.
I love it.
If I had
I love it.
college.
I call that the inoculation model, right? You've got to inoculate them, which means exposing them to these ideologies, exposing them to these philosophies.
Help them
these
understand
worldviews.
beforehand, right?
And like you say, I think whether they're in college or not, they're going to be out in the world, and so they're going to encounter these things. And some, you know, parents or just Christians in general are, I think, afraid of these ideologies, and they really shouldn't be.
But you can't be, right?
Yeah.
You cannot be afraid of people disagreeing with you, or people having a worldview that's opposite of yours, or because this is what you're going to encounter for the rest of your life, right? And we are not called to be in a box. You know, we are called to go out in the world and to speak the truth and to evangelize to others, and that is just part of the process. You must be able to handle disagreements with others and maintain your faith in the same way.
Yeah. How else can we be Christians?
How else? There's no other way.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.